quiet. Did you hear that? This is Lee. Give me status. Always clear. There's nothing here, Sam. What the hell? Son of a bitch! Lead, I'm swinging around left. No!
Well, that was a very disagreeable noise. Greetings, I'm Solidus Skully, and welcome, my friends. Assuming the Resident Evil 3 doesn't come before this, to Skully's Spookfest. I think I might end up posting Doom 3 first up, because yes, indeed, we are back again with Doom 3. Yes, I can hear all the people now going, no, please, no more Doom 3. I can't take it. Well, I mean, I am well aware that this is probably the least popular commentary series on the channel, but fear not, because it is over now. With Doom 3 The Lost Mission. Now, what could this be? We've already had the Doom 3 base game, which took like 2 years to complete. We've had Doom 3 Resurrection of Evil, one of which is missing its second part because of a bit of a crotch, and which might be in the queue for a Redux at some point in the future. And I can already hear the people going, no, I can't take this. I must take my anger out on soldiers that are dead. Because DOOMGUY is angry. Well, even though we're not technically playing as DOOMGUY, but I rest my case on this point. Yeah. I'll get into brass tacks a little bit later, but yes, this is the final Doom 3 related thing we'll probably ever be tackling on this channel. Only thing left now is a review, but that probably won't be for a while now. And yeah, don't know what we'll move on to after this, but let's just say that Doom 3 The Lost Mission is... well, how do I describe it? To put it briefly, it's basically a side story to the main campaign, in the sense that what's going on right now is basically, as the intro implied, Bravo Team. Again, we saw them get wiped out. And what happened with DOOMGUY is that he met one of the members who was still clinging to life, handed them a transmission card, which we, needed to contact Earth. Basically, things didn't go through, and, well, you saw the rest of what happened. This is kind of a... I'd say debatably unimportant side story, which I guess is fitting considering the whole Doom 3 The Lost Mission kind of thing, but yeah, basically a side story, and, again, I might be getting my information a little bit mixed here, but I think this might have something to do with, a little point that Bertruger actually pointed out earlier. At least by the time you, summon the fleet to Earth, or whether or not you did or didn't. Yeah, basically there's a functioning teleporter left in Hell, as we'll be explaining the plot in a little bit, and it's up to us to work with one of the UAC scientists to shut it down. And that's pretty much the basis of our plot. You will be going through a lot of familiar areas in the Lost Mission, unlike, Resurrection of Evil, which had a couple of new environments, but the Lost Mission itself will have its bells and whistles here and there, which allows you to see simultaneously what I think is one of the more obvious elements of, well, I say DLC, for the lack of a better phrase, but I'd say really an expansion pack. But again, I think out of all of it, it feels the most DLC-ish out of the bunch. But in any case, I'm getting sidetracked here. I mean, you do get a few alternate sort of areas, and plus, as a little bit of a bonus, you do get some of the Resurrection of Evil enemies. I mean, what you'll be seeing is like a few variants of the imps. Well, I say a few variants, I mean one. Which I don't think looks that different, and I think in a similar case to the Lost Souls, actually, I think they might have had a design more reminiscent of their classic counterpart, although I could be wrong on that. I haven't really got a good look at the design, because as you can probably see with Doom 3's very murky art design, yeah, it's all very dark, degraded, and serrated. And I'd say also this is one that doubles down a little bit more on action comparatively to the main game, so, yeah, I mean, again, it's not quite as action-oriented as, Doom Classic or Doom 2016 and Eternal, but at the same time, though, it's no slouch either, so... I will say, like, putting cards on the table here, I will say that I do enjoy the Lost Mission, but... it's just the sort of thing where it kind of is what it is. And, while not too important, it's just a little something extra for those who like Doom 3. And I suppose it is also kind of fitting considering the whole Doom 3, Doom Cubed, 3 pieces of media related to Doom 3 in its very brief existence. I suppose Doom 4 possibly could have been one of them, and by that I mean the original Doom 4, if you saw part of its, part of the, like, original 2007, like, demos for the game, which kind of had this whole, Resistance Fall of Man, like, Rage, sort of like prototype Rage sort of vibes about it. Yeah, but alas, it was not meant to be, and we got Doom 2016 instead, which, I'm not bitter about in the slightest. Now, to comment in terms of gameplay here, you're going to be seeing something markedly different right off the bat. For one thing, we are playing the more recent port of the game, which was done by a company called Panic Button, with by far one of the most generic logos ever when you started the game. I kind of wish I showed it off, actually. But yeah, this is running on the PlayStation 4, and again, comparing ports, because previously I was playing the PC edition of the BFG edition, which this is the BFG edition itself, because God forbid the original Doom 3 have its porting job done with all its good lighting and debatably better performance. But I mean, here, game runs pretty smoothly. Yeah, again, like, I mean, in terms of how the game basically plays, I think the port does a fine enough job. It's just a few technical hiccups that I do think kind of hinder the experience here and there. You're not really going to be seeing it right up, because I do think it does capture the lighting and general feel reasonably well. I think it's just a bit of texture work, and especially for like background textures, and I'm talking specifically about the skyboxes, which feel a very, I don't want to be, I want to say this in the nicest way possible, but very Sanzaru Games-esque. I don't really know what to say about it. And again, it's also been a while since I played Doom 3, so I do kind of apologize if I'm a little bit skittish this playthrough. But if nothing else, I do think it does kind of put you into the mindset of how you should approach Doom 3, where you should, you know, just kind of slowly make your way across corridors, looking around like a nervous, paranoid drug addict on the lookout for the police. And especially at this point in the game, because this game actually does start you off in a bit of a weakened position compared to the main game, where you were kind of ready for anything. At least in terms of a starting point, whereas here, it's very, well, again, you start off at very low health, and you still have to slowly build up your weapons. So it's fun, fun, fun. Except not really, and they also introduce you, again, as you saw earlier, with the commando soldiers coming right at you. Yeah, they kind of throw you into the deep end, and you gotta swing your way out. I mean, again, we are playing on a marine difficulty at this point, which is basically the game's normal mode, but even still, a bit harrowing. And I guess another thing I could also note in terms of gameplay is that I'm also trying to make the best of showing off all the weapons in my arsenal to at least a reasonable degree. Because, I mean, one of the things that kind of bother me about the... And again, this might just be, I don't know, habit, or like, just something I wasn't really thinking about back in 2015, is that I didn't really, like, utilize all the weapons an equal amount, which, I mean, is kind of a trade-off for these sorts of games, where you usually end up using the weapon that's gives you the most sort of dominant strategy kind of thing, but I don't know, I guess maybe for the sake of commentary, I just felt like showing off all the weapons here, which, you know, at least giving them an equal amount of use, because, I mean, I don't typically tend to use things like the pistol all that often, and why the hell I decided to use them against imps, even though that's not too effective, is, well, to be perfectly honest, I don't really know. Part of me thinks it was my mindset of, like, you know what, I'm gonna be fucking sick, bruv. I'm gonna use my pistol, because I'm fucking cool. But I think another part of it is also as kind of like a strategic kind of thing, which is mainly in the sense of basically just trying to, like, conserve ammo for specific weapons, because, and again, I think it is another also first-person shooter thing that I didn't really think of until I started playing the original Doom, actually, quite recently, is that, like, when you get the big powerhouse weapons like the BFG or, like, some of the rocket launchers, you typically don't want to use them until you come across an enemy that you think is worthy of it, or if you're in a bit of a tight pinch. And as a result, you don't really end up using those weapons all that often, even though you have more than enough ammo to spare, which is... It just kind of gave me a bit of pause for thought, really, because, you know, like, I mean, if you have a big, the fuck you weapon, I guess you should say, but don't end up using it throughout most of the game, is that weapon really effective? Like, I mean, maybe I'm just sort of overthinking this, but it is a little something that does give me a bit of pause for thought in terms of, you know, how these game mechanics are implemented into games like this, and, you know, just how fast you'll really be cycling through weapons. Because, I mean, I think in something like Doom 2016, for instance, you will find yourself using these amount of weapons, mainly because of the amount of ammo you'll expend, and the fact that you'll probably be having, like, more ammo for some guns than you would others, and you end up switching between them a little bit more often, just for the sake of keeping up the pace in combat, whereas in something like this, and to a certain extent, I guess also Halo Combat Evolved, actually, you just tend to stick with one or two weapons, mainly because the ammo is plentiful and the damage they do is pretty, substantial, for the lack of a better phrase, so, just, a little something to think about, really. And, my god, Doom 3's atmosphere is still on point at this stage. Again, I guess to give a bit of context, really, in where we stand, Doom Eternal's been released, obviously. It's a fantastic game. I loved every single second of it. You didn't think you could improve upon perfection with Doom 2016, but here we are, and quite frankly, man, I mean, if you can't improve upon perfection... these were the imps I was talking about earlier, by the way. They tend to crawl across the ground, they have a faster rate of firing the plasma balls, and yeah, I think their design is meant to be reminiscent of the older imps, but don't quote me on that, because I couldn't really get a good look at them. Or at least during these sessions, anyway. Anyway, back to the topic of Doom Eternal. Again, really enjoyed the game. It's, I don't really know where it ranks in terms of my favorite Doom games of all time. I'm gonna say... You know, I'll say my ranking for a little bit later when I figure that out, but it does also give me pause for thought as to where the Doom series could go next, because, I mean... I understand that most people probably wouldn't go for a Doom 3 kind of thing, like, after the success of Doom Eternal, and how people tend to prefer action more so than the atmospheric horror kind of thing. But considering where Doom Eternal ended, and like this sort of DOOMGUY saved the Earth and all of reality kind of thing, where exactly the series could go from there? And it does kind of make me wonder if it's gonna go for like a major formula shake-up, or if it's just gonna put the series on ice for a few years until its software can figure out something that, you know, takes the genre to the next level and innovates Doom in a way that feels appropriate. Because, I mean, part of the reason why we didn't get Doom 4, as, you know, was initially intended, was because during development they just came in and thought that this wasn't a Doom game and that it was too derivative of, you know, other first-person shooters of its day, which is actually, I think, actually ties back to a bit of a quote that I think it was either Tim Willits or John Carmack who said it, around the time that Rage came out, was in the sense that, okay, you have a first-person shooter, okay, that's all well and good. And, you know, you enjoy that one, but what do the other games have to offer? And again, I do think that philosophy is actually a very good point of ethos to have, you know, when you're taking a look at other games in specific genres, because, you know, you pick up one thing and, you know, you want to have an experience that no other game could give you, and I think that's why a lot of the long-lasting franchises you see around still today, especially if they're of, like, a legacy franchise kind of thing, they tend to be the ones that, you know, did things differently, but similar enough so that anybody could pick them and play, which... I don't know, it's just something I found really fascinating. Steady. Steady. Again, that's just the paranoid mindset this game puts you in, man. Like, I mean, I wouldn't say that Doom 3 is explicitly scary, in the sense that you'll be quaking in your boots and, you know, afraid to press forward, but the game does put you on edge, for lack of a better phrase. Like, you're gonna be constantly, I mean, again, like, you have soldiers charging at you, and you wouldn't think it's really that scary, but it's just the fact that they just seem to have a degree of accuracy and, like, a degree of persistence against you. Like, I mean, especially with some of the other enemies that I've bitched about and we're gonna be seeing yet to come, like the commandos that will just, you know, charge at you, or like the chain gun commandos, which would take off significant chunks of your health, and, again, like, I mean, it really does drive up the adrenaline, which is part of the reason why I don't exactly just shit on Doom 3, well, aside from my general enjoyment of the game, is because, like, it really does capture the feelings of Doom, but done slightly differently, and again, like, I mean, I don't exactly know of its position in the timeline at this point, like, whether it's meant to be just this, like, one-off side story that has no bearing on the actual canon, or if it's, like, part of the timeline in some spot that its software have yet to put it, but I don't know, like, I think it still bears all the hallmarks of a Doom game in spite of what some people might say about it. I suppose I could possibly save the whole timeline thing for a future part, because that's a little bit of a nitpick in and of itself, but needless to say, like, I mean, if you played Doom Eternal, and I'm not really sure whether I should spoil it, although I probably will on a later date, because let's just say, if it wasn't clear what Doom 2016 was trying to be, it becomes entirely clear when you play Doom Eternal, so I'll keep my tongue firmly shut on that for the time being. And again, I suppose to give any sort of technical advice, although I think I'm really one to talk because I'm not exactly an expert Doom player, but I play the games enough to know what I'm doing, generally speaking. And it's, for me, it's generally to use your pistol on the zombies and enemies you can easily dispatch. Stuff like the shotgun I generally save for, you know, stronger enemies when they get up close, and the machine gun is just general dispatcher until you start getting some of the more powerful toys to play with, like, you know, plasma rifle, chain gun, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, we're also not going to be dealing with that at the time being, because now we have the fan-fabled... Jesus. Now we have the return of the audio logs, which, I'm gonna let play, so, you know, if you're interested, listen in and enjoy the show, but otherwise, well, you could probably just skip them. I don't know if I'll offer a time code, but, fuck it.
This is the audio log of Chief Alan Rhodes, October 12, 2145. Well, we made significant progress with the field coupler this week. If my calculations are correct, this should provide a considerable boost to the converter's output. I just wish Myers wasn't so damn pushy about this project of his. Well, to be fair, it's actually Bertruger's project. Myers is just trying to follow orders and do his job. Anyhow, what we are doing is extremely complex and requires us to be firing on all cylinders. Expanding all of the transference data from Delta has been a very difficult process. What he's proposing requires the full use of a single grid array. I'm just glad we have the entire auxiliary unit to work with. My hope is, within the next few weeks, we will be able to prime the main array in parallel and have the auxiliary working at sufficient capacity for the folks over at Nexus Labs. And, I think that's all I've got for now. Alan Rhodes, signing off. Chief Alan Rhodes, November 15th, 2145. The situation here in Sector 1 is bad. Shortly after getting the auxiliary grid synced with the main array, we experienced a huge power surge. And, the output readings are nominal, which leads me to conclude that it's not the auxiliary core. It sounds like a problem with the main array. Regardless, I started hearing screams and gunfire over one of the channels just before our communications went down. Well, we have been trying desperately to get in touch with Myers over in Exus to see what he knows. Several of my technicians have not reported back yet, and my senior technician described a bloodbath near a coolant transfer zone. Following that transmission, his radio went dead, and I've not heard from him since. A few of my other technicians reported seeing strange creatures appearing out of thin air, and none of them have reported back yet. The rest of my team and myself, we just barricaded ourselves into a control room here in Sector 1, and we will continue trying to get communications working, but I don't know how much longer we can stay here. I'll update soon. It's Chief Rhodes, signing off.
I can't believe someone's alive there. You must help me. Time is critical. My name is Richard. Dr. Richard Myers, and I believe I'm the last one alive from my team. I was working with the engineers there before the connection was lost. I don't know what happened to them, but without your help, we may all die. I hope I can count on you. Here's the situation. We were conducting bi-dimensional tests before the attack, and I've lost control of the communication relays. And now we have a functional teleporter still active in the other dimension. And if it's not destroyed, those creatures may be able to use it to reach as far as Earth. You've got to help me. I've done everything I can here, but I don't have enough power to activate the teleporter on this side. The engineers were working with me to redirect auxiliary power from NPRO straight to Exus Labs. But now, looks like you're the only one that can help. I'll upload the array instructions to the SSD at your console. There. Take the SSD and find the main power station in Sector 2. Just plug it into the main terminal and I'll contact you there. Here's very little time. Please hurry.
And so that is Dr. Richard Myers, voiced by Paul Lighting, who many probably recognize as Colonel Roy Campbell, and someone else I recognize, but I can't quite remember. I can remember the character's face, but I can't remember his name. Whatever. Anyway, that's basically our, well, plot for the thing. And again, like, I mean, it's relatively small, concise, and not really too out of the way, because I think at this point in time, if we were to do anything, it would probably interfere with Bertruger and DOOMGUY's doing at this stage. So in the meantime, yeah, And, like, I mean, here's the thing, I don't know if necessarily this is meant to tie in towards any of Bertruger's ulterior motives in terms of bringing the fleet to Earth, or just using this as a means of summoning more demons, but, I'm not really too sure, because, like, I mean, the time frame for this kind of thing, this is supposed to happen, like, shortly after the Alpha Labs, so I guess this is meant to imply that, I guess maybe, like, this soldier and, you know, Richard Myers are basically just kind of holding up, defending everything else off, and I guess keeping safe until, you know, Earth comes to pick them up after the invasion's over. Because, I mean, spoiler alert, these characters survive. This isn't a vaguely implicit Resurrection of Evil situation where you don't know if Elizabeth McNeil or, you know, the Marine in that game die? I don't know. It's a bit strange to really think about, but yeah, it's short, concise, but I'd say for what you're getting, which, you know, actually does come with the game, and something I might as well talk about instead is that I got this via the Doom Slayers collection, which is basically a collection which contains Doom 1, 2, and 3, and Doom 2016. That does come with a bit of a caveat, however, that Doom 2016 is the only one on disc. I believe that also comes with a lot of the DLC, but I haven't really experimented with that yet, but again, what you also get in exchange for that is download codes for Doom 1, Doom 2, and Doom 3, which is a bit of a bugbear that I do have, because, you know, in doing this, when the servers of, like, the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One go down, how are people going to get those games? They won't, which, again, I get is probably more of, like, a cost-saving thing, because, you know, disk space, especially in this day and age, is becoming a bit more of a archaic medium, I want to say. I mean, not at this point, but I mean, just think, like, I'd say, like, 5 to 10 years down the line, probably going to become a lot less common. I mean, again, if it's not the PS5, Xbox Series X era, it's probably going to be the console generation after that, which is probably be around about the point when I stop playing modern games, to be perfectly frank with you. But yeah, you're only getting Doom 2016, and Doom 3, Doom 1 and 2 will be lost to time, so buy it now for the PS4, Xbox One, and I don't know if it's for the Switch or not. I'm gonna say no or yes, but yeah, that was also me attempting to be kind of fucking sick, bruv, by like getting the Z-Sec security soldier to shoot the zombie, but it didn't work, and the zombie was just like, boy, and died. It was actually an Easter egg I recorded a while back, actually. I might post it on YouTube for funsies, if I can be bothered. But yeah, I believe that was actually meant to be a reference to the Martian body cabinets, which, again, in the base game, and I think it might show up here as well, is kind of a story in and of itself, actually, because, I mean, back in 2004, there was this website called MartianBody.com, which you could visit, and I believe it contained, like, a locker code which you could use in Doom 3, which was, which was like a 0508, and it would basically let you get some hidden goodies, as well as, I believe, a few other hidden secrets to Doom 3. Again, it's nothing you can access now. I think you could probably only get to it by the Wayback Machine, I think. But I mean, alas, it is pretty interesting, so, just a nice bit of archaic history. And I used to do that quite a bit, actually, back in the day, like, kind of like in Gex Enter the Gecko with the, Crystal Dynamics webpage, which I finally figured out what that does. It actually leads you to a bunch of Gex cheat codes for PS1 and N64. I don't know, but that's kind of irrelevant at this point. And yeah, much in the same way as Resurrection of Evil, they also use the Lost Souls in their classic variants. And again, I think, like I said in that commentary as well, kind of surprised I didn't actually do that for some of the other monsters, like design some classic models for them, like, well, I think the only ones that would probably really stick out for would be, like, the Pinky Demon, the, that's the only one I can immediately think of, because we have an audio log, which is, related to the Super Shotgun, stuck in that nice little cabinet right there. I do kind of wish these weapons were added into the base game, maybe possibly for a Doom 3 remaster, if id Software feels like it, but again, the future isn't really set in stone at the moment, so enjoy the audio log, and because I checked ahead of time, I know the code, so enjoy.
Chris Vargas, November 5th, 2145. Our initial testing on the primary alignment module indicated excessive stress fracturing. I immediately ordered the team to discontinue the tests, and they've been working around the clock to repair the damaged module. Testing will resume once the unit's back online, and I'm pretty confident we'll be ready for next week's load tests for Chief Rhodes. I have also been asked to help Rhodes with the number crunching going on with the transfer data, which I hope to be finished with soon, provided interruptions are at a minimum. Interruptions, like the one earlier this week when Dave Voss, our security officer, insisted I change the code yet again for the cabinet displaying the shotgun my brother sent to me. It's not like I actually used the damn thing. I don't know, maybe the guy is just anal about code regulations. Personally, I heard he failed the Marine entrance exams and resents being relegated to security officer. I sent an email off to the guy with the new code. Vargas, signing off.
There we go. You got the super shotgun. Oh, yes. And, speaking of weapons that they added into specific versions of the game, bit off topic, but still Doom related. I think this might be something new added into Doom 64 for the re-release, because again, it was recently. Well, I say recently, but I think it was in the lead-up to Doom Eternal's release. Yeah, they, added in, like, the, Unmaker gun, I believe, I think. My mind might be playing tricks on me, because I didn't really play Doom 64 until quite recently. Well, I tell a lie, actually. I did play Doom 64 a long fucking time ago. It was actually when I got into the series early on, during my emulator days. But I didn't play that much of it because I didn't really enjoy it all that much. On reflection, though, I think that might have just been me being a little bit biased, because, you know, at the time I heard a lot of people just kind of clamoring for that over Doom 3, which I didn't appreciate very much. And I wasn't very, mature about opinions, and, the fact that other people have them, and I disagree with them, and they're wrong. They were always wrong. Well, no more. I'm gonna take some down to the piers and stab some. But I mean, on a serious note, yeah, I believe they added the Unmaker into Doom 64 as like a weapon which DOOMGUY picks up and is thinking, what the fuck is this? And you might think I'm making fun of that, but no, that's literally what he says. And yeah, so ties to media all around. And again, as you can see, unlike the base game, you don't get like those little creature introductions like you used to see for a bunch of them, like, you know, the imp, the maggot. Again, actually, there's something I really liked about Doom 3, and something that I think Doom 2016 and Eternal didn't, is that they usually made, like, each encounter feel kind of significant whenever you meet new demons. Like, I mean, for instance, I mean, even meeting the imp, which, you know, kind of goes without saying because it's the first demon you meet, it gets a bit of a dramatic reveal. You get the same thing for the Hell Knight, you get the same thing for the Pinky Demon. And, I don't know, like, I mean, in terms of a presentation kind of thing, I kind of like that. Like, it makes every encounter feel like hell's growing in power, and, like, you know, you need to keep your wits about you in order to stop them. It's something you don't really get with, Doom 2016, to be honest, and that's, I don't know. It's just a little thing, really. Like, I'm not gonna always sleep over it, but, I don't know, this made things feel significant. Excuse me. And that was also my attempt to be, totally sick, bruv, but that failed. And I have no idea what the fuck I'm saying that. Because I'm no chav with bleached hair and dark hoodie and whatever. Yeah, but alas, we must read more audio logs, because that is truly the way in which we just do things around here. And I suppose these are probably one of the more draggier parts of the commentary looking back, but again, I think for the sake of at least showing off most of what the game has to offer, I mean, I think because of how... you know, whatever, I'm just rambling at this point. Enjoy the audio log. And I forgot that I was actually just reading emails, which is kind of getting to the point that I was getting at before. Again, I realized that, I think the text might be a little bit too small for people to read, and, probably wouldn't really be too interesting, from, like, I guess from, like, purely a visual standpoint, so, yeah, I decided to cut those out, unlike what I did in the main game where I tried to read it along with it, so yeah, I think that's... Well, again, not that I underestimate my viewers' intelligence, but again, I just don't think a lot of people will really be committed to that. And also, this is me also showing off some of the grenades, which I don't really use all that often, because I find them a little bit unwieldy, and the physics on them kind of have them go a bit flip-shit back and forth, so, yeah. I only really use them either for the sake of showing off like I'm doing here, or just for the sake of, you know, actually just using them. Because, I mean, they can be effective sometimes, I mean, I haven't really gotten them to work reliably because I find that some of the splashback does tend to damage you a little bit more than it does the enemy, so... I don't know. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. Sling you, I guess you could use as a bit of a last resort. And, oh boy, so the later parts of this is where I really start to become a little bit of a bumblefuck, because, well, as you're going to be seeing in here, I encounter an enemy that makes me look like a bit of a chump. And by that I mean another commando. So, oh look, health and armor and ammunition, I should surely be fine in this wondrous realm. Yep, I was trying to set up a trap where I could blow him up, but that didn't really work, and I pay the price for it. So, yeah, off I go to snag some health, like the little moron that I am! Thank God for these health stations. Actually, I gotta wonder, like, how the hell though, how people's injuries get treated using stuff like that, because, is it administered by needles? Like, is it like a antibody kind of thing? Because Doom 2016 had a similar health refill station like that, but it was kind of like, you know, you put your arm into it, and I guess it injects, like, some sort of, like, magic healing goo into your arm, and that kind of fixes you right up. I mean, I don't know, it's like pseudoscience, but I don't really see how this stuff in Doom 3 could help you just by pressing the screen, I guess. Unless it's, like, by touch. Because, I mean, Doom 3 is... Well, I mean, it's far enough in the future to the point where I guess you could feasibly say that medical science is advanced enough, but, still, 2145 isn't that far away. In fact, I'm pretty sure... Well, I mean, okay, we'll probably all be long dead by the time we reach that time period, but, everybody else, they'll still be there. Oh dear. And, again, I guess also to have a bit of an addendum to the game's difficulty is that, I guess the rate in which it introduces all these monsters at once, the fact that it also, oh, by the way, I just have a habit of, like, punching people. I have no idea why. I just have very weird habits in video games that I just need to show off because I'm obsessive compulsive. Tee-hee-hee-hee-hee-hee-hee-hee. But anyway, as I was saying, like, the rate in which it introduces all these monsters to you, I mean, I guess it kind of has to because, you know, the game itself just wants to get you into the swing of things, but, yeah, we're also going to be meeting the Archvile, which I was absolutely not prepared for in the slightest, and, yeah, the physics is going a little bit flipshit there, actually. Kind of reminds me of a similar example, actually, of, Batman Arkham Knight. I think I might actually have a video of this, but, like, it's during a cutscene where Batman helps out one of the firemen, and, one of the goons' bodies who you beat the crap out of is just standing up there for some reason. I have no idea why, but... Then again, that's just video game physics and something you just sort of come to expect. Which you shouldn't come to expect, but hey, that's the 8th, 9th generation for you. I suppose something else I could also really bring up. Well, it's kind of weird for me to say, because, like, I mean, it's been long enough since I played this game to the point where I could have all these tangents that I could bring up, but at the same time, I'm also not sure if I covered them in the original commentary, which I guess people barely watched anyway, so I could probably continue to talk about that, regardless as such. But I mean, anyway, I just don't want to come off as redundant is the important thing here. But anyway, we have reached our destination at long last.
Drive accepted. Stand by.
Excellent work, Marine. I'm getting a link to the SSD drive. The computer's showing that the auxiliary power unit isn't coming online, and it looks like you'll need to prime the flow systems. If you haven't already found one, there should be an ionized plasma levitator nearby. Some of the techs call it a grabber gun. Don't worry, this is a common problem with these systems. You should be able to extract plasma from a working conduit and force it into the non-working one. That should be sufficient to prime the unit. One moment. I'll open the shielding. There. The shield should be open.
And for those of you who need a quick reminder on what the grabber does, well, this is basically how you operate it. There we go.
Good. I'm getting adequate readings from the power converters. Now we just need to get that power rerouted here. Head to the terminal in the lower level. Hurry. We don't have a lot of time.
So that's basically where we have to go. Head down the lift, across the mountain, over the way. I don't really know where I was going with that, but yeah, now that power's restored to the base, we can continue forth our journey. There's something interesting I learned, actually, when I was actually taking a look back at some of the footage of the 2002 alpha of Doom 3. I believe one of the initial things that they planned for the game was actually to have, like, more of a city kind of locale located on Mars, because, I mean, this place is called Mars City, but it is mostly just, you know, lab facilities and scientific research. In, like, the 2002 version, like, especially with the sweeping camera shot that you saw, it was initially meant to be, like, a, you know, a legitimate city where people lived. And, while I think it does make a little bit more sense for, you know, to go for more of the scientific research-based kind of vibe, it does also give me pause for thought as to what exactly these city locales would have provided, like, well, again, I think one of the immediate examples I can think of is Dead Space, actually, like when you went through that little... I can't remember what it was specifically. It was like either a little schooling facility or it was like a children's play area, but I mean, that could have possibly led to some creepy scenarios, and, in turn, possibly could have even made for some creepy scenarios with the cherub enemies, which are a bane and pain in my ass to this day, but lucky for you, we have the grabber, unlike in the main game, which makes things so much easier. And yeah, here we are again with the fucking archvile. I tried to get it with grenades, but again, this thing's a fucking bullet sponge, and yeah, it doesn't work very well, so you gotta kind of work at it until you can defeat it, but Christ on a fucking bike. Like, I mean, the archviles are a fucking pain, man. Oh, good lord. And again, that attack is actually very damaging. Ugh. Like, I mean, out of all the times that I've faced them, like, I mean, the scariest places where I fought them is Doom 2, for obvious reasons, and Doom 3. Because, Christ, they ain't fucking around, babe. And yeah, this is also another function of the grabber. You can use it to basically pick up specific health items, which, you know, again, if the hitbox isn't really working right for when you run over to pick them up, you can just use the grabber and bada bing, you do the thing. And again, you can actually use the grabber for a bunch of different things. Again, I'm not really too well, okay, I'm successful there. But you can use the grabber to grab fireballs and chuck them back at the enemy, which was seen briefly in the cutscene of Resurrection of Evil, but I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just my shitty aim. I'm gonna assume it's that, more so than the gun itself, but I don't find myself being very reliable with the grabber for some reason, and I have no idea why that is. I think part of it might be because my aim, or maybe I think it might have something to do with holding it down so you get a more precise way to aim the gun. Like, I mean, again, you can hold certain objects, but again, you'll have like a few seconds radius to get rid of it and fire it away, otherwise it'll just drop stone dead. And it's kind of curious, really, because, I mean, you can use it to grab projectiles, but... And I think this might just be more down to me, but, I don't know, the accuracy is a little bit, pants, sometimes. You know, good work, you shut down the power. Now we can continue to do shit and fix up my fuck-up, because I am Richard Myers, the scientist who... I mean, I suppose if nothing else, it does give a little bit more background as to Dr. Bertruger and, you know, the team working on the teleporters, and I guess a little bit as to what Bertruger was like before he became completely demonic. Again, it isn't too much, and I do think there is a little bit more uncovered ground, like, you know, maybe Bertruger was a little bit more of like a science-driven man, or maybe he was always kind of a dick, but the demonic thing just sort of pushed him to the extreme, and by the way, a little bit of a fuck-up here, actually. You know, trying to escape from this guy. He's constantly keeping me under fire, and guess what I fucking do right around here, I think. Oh, look, something picked up. Oh, better watch my PDA. Dad. Yeah, again, that was my complete and utter fuck-up, and no health pickups around. No way to recover my health. I am completely screwed. Because I didn't play it smooth. And, yeah, try as I might, there is no coming back from all this. Yes, stop beating around the bush. You are screwed, dude. I probably should have cut this out, but, fuck it, I realized the inevitable, and, that should do us for part 1. So, join us next time for part 2 of the Lost Mission. I'm Solidus Skully, keep it new metal, and I will see you dudes and dudettes next time. Catch you later.